Chromatic Orb is by far one of the best level 1 spells for any class available. It's got great damage, great roleplay ability, and it can be almost anything you want. Hey everyone, Yanjiao back again. So today we're talking about Chromatic Orb, one of the greatest spells in the Wizard or Sorcerer toolbook. It's got 3d8 worth of damage, which is pretty awesome for level 1. You can cast it out to 90 feet, so it's got great range. You can keep your Wizard or Sorcerer away from the battle like you want to. It's even better if you're going to take Evocation as your focus for your Wizard class. Chromatic Orb is great, especially because it can be any type of elemental damage you want. So it could be acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. This is one of the most flexible spells that there is. You get your choice of what it's going to be when you're casting it. So if you're up against some kind of fire guy and he's vulnerable to cold, great, you got cold. If it's some kind of construct, it can be thunder and get the extra damage. It makes it really nice for those early level adventures when you have a lot of fiends or skeletons and they're immune to like poison or some of the other ones. So one of the reasons that this flexibility is so important is that when you're starting out, you don't really have that many spells. So you could learn a different spell that deals a type of damage for every occasion, but this just allows you to do anything, and you can get more utility spells, like maybe like a detect magic or a levitate. Now, Chromatic Orb isn't perfect. It's got one significant drawback, which is really the cost. So most basic evocation spells are more or less cheap to cast, but Chromatic Orb has a diamond worth 50 gold pieces. Starting off, that is pretty steep. However, in a level or two, it's not that bad. The good thing about it is casting doesn't consume the diamond. So the average gold that you start off as with a wizard is about 100 gold pieces. So it'll cost you half right away. And you need another 50 for your spell book. So that's going to cost you right there. All of a sudden, you got a naked wizard wandering around with a book and a really nice diamond. We don't even want to know where he's keeping the diamond. It's kind of tough, but usually by level 2, and if you have a somewhat generous DM, they might let you start off with it. Now, this sort of makes it nicer for a sorcerer, because with a sorcerer, it's nice, you don't need material costs. So instead of spending that 50 on a diamond, you can get yourself a nice arcane focus like a staff, or get yourself some nice clothes, so something a little better. So how does Chromatic Orb compare to other spells in the range? So we have Burning Hands, which deals 3d6 fire in a 15-foot cone. It's pretty cool, especially if you're trying to deal damage to more than one opponent at once. The problem is 15 feet is pretty darn close for some kind of wizard or sorcerer. It would be pretty easy for that enemy to come in and gank you if you're not armored like most wizards and sorcerers aren't when you're starting out. Another contemporary is Magic Missile, which is pretty cool because it's an auto hit. Nothing can escape it. The only problem is, since they're doing D4s, it's not that great damage. It may be enough to kill some weaker monsters, some goblin or something when you start, but once you advance and the CR rating is higher, that 1d4 is not going to be great. Now, the only nice thing about that is, like I said, the auto hit. So when you're a higher level and you upcast it, the damage is still low, but every enemy would have to take it. One of the other great ones for level 1 is Ice Knife. It's very cool. It's got a long range, and it hits the target for 1d10 of cold damage. And then they have everything within 5 feet of whatever enemy you aimed at has to make a dex saving throw or take 2d6 of cold damage. So that's very cool, especially if you got mobs. The only problem with this is every party has some fighter or paladin or barbarian who's just going to run to the front, and all of a sudden you don't have anything to target because you're going to hit your own guy. And man, they do not like that. So that's one of the greater features of Chromatic Orb. It's one enemy only. The other problem with Ice Knife and Burning Hands is that they're a specified type of damage. So if you're fighting some kind of fire elemental, Burning Hands isn't going to do you any good. Ice Knife probably won't either, because enemies that are cold base will have resistance to cold, but also enemies that are fire base, for whatever reason, tend to also have resistance to cold. One of the nice substitutes comes from Xanathar's Guide, which is Chaos Bolt. So Chaos Bolt is it's powerful enough to make Chromatic Orb look like a small potatoes, especially because it doesn't force you to buy any pricey material components. Chaos Bolt has a range of 120 feet, so that's 90 feet more than Chromatic Orb, and it does 2d8 plus 1d6 damage. The attack type can be, again, any kind of elemental energy, so that's anything except for radiant and necrotic, and it based on whatever number you turn up on a d8 that you roll for damage. The only problem is the numbers on the d8s turn up as double. The spells jump to a new target, potentially doubling your damage. If those d8s from the new bolt doubles, it jumps again, and it keeps jumping until it stops showing doubles. You don't have control over what damage type the spell does, which can make it troublesome for dealing with resistant fiends or undead, but potentially for Chaos Bolt to leap to a new target is tantalizing. So is Chromatic Orb right for you? Well, it kind of depends. You really can't go wrong with it. It's got any kind of damage you want. It's pretty much top shelf as far as first level spells, and it's got a lot of play. Do you want to play some kind of a hybrid, say a monk wizard? You can recreate Goku in all his glory with a Kamehameha using Chromatic Orb. You can have any other class that you want. Attack your favorite enemies. It's quite a good spell. So if you're in the market and you're a min-max type of guy and you want the most bang for your buck on a damaging spell for early and later on with wizards and sorcerers, Chromatic Orb is for you. So thanks a lot for tuning in. I appreciate it if you could like, subscribe. Anything helps the channel. I'd love to hear your comments down in the comment section. Thanks, guys. We'll be back with another video soon.